podcast. Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Tiffany Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance blog. What is it called again?
Podcast, period.
You're ugly. You're Power approved.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. This here is DKM. We are the Alliance Guys, and we're here to talk to you. Hashtag NWA fam about wrestling and whatever else we feel like talking about, because it's our show. We'll do what we want. Willie Bowen's in the house, and I got to say, Willie, we're a little worried about you. We didn't see you last week. Glad you're here, man. Missed you. DK, how are you, sir?
Awake. And
how has retired life been treating you?
I'm not complaining about it, that's for sure.
What, like, how long did it take you to sleep in? Like, what's the latest you're sleeping until now?
Oh, I typically sleep till 8 to 9. The question is, when do I take my first nap?
And that is?
Well, it just depends on the day. Someday.
Take a nap today? No, but the day ain't over yet.
Yeah. I mean, because one day I took a nap. It's like I got up at 8, and then at 9, then at 9 I went and did something. I was home by 9:30, finally 8, because I can't eat when I first get up. I actually have to like be active to eat. So I ate a little bit, went in the room to read, and I was asleep in about 5 minutes. It was like 10 o'clock.
That's
like an hour.
There.
It's like, oh, that's nice.
So today we are going to be talking about a few things, if my computer will cooperate with me.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, first of all, did you get to watch Power?
I did, mostly.
So did I. I saw most of it. What were your thoughts on it? More good than bad? More bad than good?
Maybe it was just me. But this was one of those episodes I didn't have a strong opinion of either direction. Of course, some of it may be I'm becoming numb to stuff they do. I mean, like, why was there a street fight? I don't know, but you know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did not get to watch the entire episode. I thought I was going to have time today to do it, and as it turned out, nope.
And so, yeah, I mean, well, I was left mostly like, well, okay. Nothing blew me away, but then nothing made me want to, throw things at my television either. So,
Well, before we get into everything, something that that Tim kind of pointed out to me is that when it comes to podcasting, something that's good to do is to kind of reintroduce who you are and then remind people what the topics are. So my name is Jay Cal. I've been a fan of the National Wrestling Alliance since 1995 in its current form. Obviously, during I was a big fan of the heyday, the Jim Crockett promotions, but I rediscovered the NWA through Dan the Beast Severn, who would carry the 10 pounds of gold to the octagon. And ever since then, I tried to find every little bit of NWA information I could, which led to me being a moderator at the NWA message boards in the early 2000s. That's where I met this gentleman and our other co-host who's not here right now. And we grew our affinity for the NWA over the course of almost, 16 years now.
A long time.
Sean says, don't do that. Don't do that every week. So we've been talking about the NWA pretty consistently since about 2008 with this podcast. We focus on the National Wrestling Alliance. We do talk about other wrestling promotions, but one of our favorites is United Wrestling Network. Occasionally, we'll talk about Ring of Honor, MLW, WWE, AEW, Impact, or TNA, whatever. We talk about good wrestling that we enjoy, and we talk about bad wrestling that we don't enjoy. But each and every week we come to you on Thursday nights, the Alliance guys, since 2008. And tonight we're going to be talking about, of course, some of the results from NWA Power, the most recent episode that you could see on the CW app. Also, we are going to talk a little bit about the announcement that was made today, or I guess it was made official yesterday, Billy Corgan's official announcement announcing the NWA deal, plus the reality show that Billy Corgan will be on the CW. And then, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about Joe Kazana Promotions, as they are actually aired their most latest episode of their program now under the NWA banner. And then we're going to be talking some TNA wrestling. Seems like there might be a mutiny brewing. So with that being said, Mutiny Brewing is actually the name of my IPA that I've been working on. That's a bad joke. So I want to say what's up to our pals in the chat. I do see Willie's here, Steve G, Matthew Underwood, Mr. Luthez, Media Mike, Noob is in the house. Like I said, Sean Mega's in the house. He says, don't do that every week. Okay, the people have spoken. And if you're wondering what is behind me, I am on vacation in a little town called Beaver Creek, Colorado. Yes, I smile and laugh every time I say Beaver Creek. I plan to buy at least one sweatshirt that says Beaver Creek, and I hope there's no more questions about that. Behind me, it was actually...
You're not pronouncing it right. It's Crick.
Crick. Beaver Creek. Okay, fair enough.
No, not with the Russian accent.
Beaver Creek.
I don't know about you sometimes.
You've known me for this long. You shouldn't be surprised by anything.
No, it's one of those cases. I don't know about you sometimes, but the rest of the times I simply do know.
and you love it. Love is a strong word.
Yeah. Tolerate. Can we go with that?
We could go with tolerate. I'm all right with that. I don't have any W with me, so today I am drinking Zero Sugar Sprite,
which will gladly take us a sponsor.
Anytime, any day. You don't have to pay me in money. You can pay me in product.
Exactly.
My daughter is a type 1 diabetic, Claire. You guys have seen Claire appear on this very podcast quite frequently, and this is her favorite soda. So we bought a bunch of it for the trip. With that being said, let's talk about Power. You said you didn't have strong feelings one way or the other.
No, because and again, I think some of it is I don't understand the bookings, or I don't understand the setup for something. Why was this done? You know, this goes back to that one time I go. I swear sometimes it seems like they go in without a plan, and they just kind of write some stuff on paper, and when they get there, and here you go. We will talk about NWA Chicago at some point during this broadcast.
That's sorry, Noob. You're right. That's actually part of the plan. We didn't. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but it's something that we were planning to do anyways. Yeah, I looked at this week's episode of Power, and on paper, I was very excited to see the Mecha Wolf versus. Real quick, I want to go to what Matthew Underwood said. He said, "Championship Wrestling from Hollywood had way better promos this week. Peter Avalon, Zicky Dice were gold. Danny and Slice were gold. The format of the promos, the i.e. pick and pick as they walked to the ring, is something the NWA should do." I don't disagree with that. I will probably, if I get home in time, I will probably be at Thunder Studios on Sunday to be a part of the next round of tapings. This one will be better because they'll have more of their production set up. The last show, they didn't have their LED lights in place, and Dave was pissed. He's like, "This looks so push." I'm like, "Dave, it looks fine." He's like, "No, this looks awful." So if you like what you see now, just wait till next week. It's only going to get better. So as far as NWA Power goes, yes, I agree with you in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, why in the world would you start a show with a feud that has never been explained on the program? I don't feel like they did an adequate job of explaining why there's heat between Tom Latimer and why there's heat Tom Latimer and Brian Idol. They didn't really reference it. Of course, we talked about it on the pre-party. The beginning of that feud started when Markova and Camille. Wow,
how quickly they forget,
right? One time. Well, you know what it is I'm holding a grudge now because she aired her YouTube video during yesterday's Other Alliance guys, and I'm a little peeved at that.
She aired the video yesterday.
Yeah, so Camille released her first YouTube video in 2 years yesterday, and I guess while the bidding war is happening or whatever is, whether she's determining where she's going to end up, she's decided to start a video blog, and so I guess I don't know how regular it's going to be. I haven't watched it yet, but it debuted yesterday around the same time that the other guys were on.
Mm-hmm. Well, it shows you how much I keep up.
So Matthew Underwood says, has Idol ever cut a promo on Tom? And I don't think he has. I honestly don't think I've heard Idol cut a promo at all. I know that Mercurio has cut promos, and those were mostly laughable and terrible, but I don't think I've heard Brian Idol cut a promo in an NWA ring. And then real quick, Noob says, I'm okay with Natalia Markova being number one contender for the NWA Women's title, but part of me pretty much saying it's time for her to take a break from chasing the NWA Women's title. We'll get to that in a minute. Noob. And Matthew Underwood agrees with you, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the promo for that match, I felt like was very lackluster. I mean, it was a great build, but without the context, it meant nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know how to feel about it.
I felt nothing. Sorry, my computer's kind of frozen here, so give me just a second. Then they mentioned FTL on the flyers. I don't. Have they explained what FTL is to anybody?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I'm honest. I don't always pay the closest attention because it can drive me crazy.
Right.
Although I will admit, announcing has gotten better. The announce team.
Yeah, well, Danny Deals I really like him in this role. And I'm not just saying that because he retweets my stuff from time to time. Danny Deals is He adds what they were lacking in the announce booth. I'm not going to go as far as to call him the modern version of Bobby the Brain Heenan, but in some regards, he is the modern version of Bobby the Brain Heenan. He has insider knowledge. He has jokes. He kind of makes people laugh from time to time. I laugh during
sometimes intentionally.
Yeah. But when he adds value, and you're right, like it gets. I love Tim Storm, but I'd rather see Tim in the ring. I want to see Tim wrestle. Joe Galli is perfectly adequate in the job that he's doing. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's far from horrible. But I feel like him and Deals have a good chemistry. They play off each other well. It's fun for me.
When Galli has a good partner, he does well.
Yes.
And when they don't saddle him with stupid things like Nick Aldis being mad at him or, things like that. Which,
yeah.
Like I always said, we're never going to see Nick Aldis versus Joe Galli in the ring. So why do those two keep? But when he's left to do his job, which is to be a commentator, and then you get somebody like Danny Deals who brings the humor, the heel perspective, which, by the way, I don't always think it's needed for the color guy to be a heel.
Yeah.
But, when they bring up, the humor and the inside and the past experience, or, if it's a former wrestler or whatever, that's good. So I don't know. It just the commentary's better. That team works well, but they still have to deal with what we're seeing in front of us. So I don't even want to know. And Jay's apparently watching porn or something while we're doing this.
No, you made me laugh. That's why I almost spit out the Sprite. When you said they still have to watch what's in front of them.
Yeah.
You almost made me spit out my Sprite. Okay. Well, then let's talk about what was in front of them. The weirdest match that I've ever heard of, when you have a number one contender spot determined by the person who scores the victory in a 6-man tag match. Again, I said this on the pre-party, and I'm going to say it to you right now, DK. They could have called this just an NWA Women's Showcase match and leave no title match. Leave that out of the question. Just show off 6 of your top talent females who have no storyline currently because the television title is kind of in a gimmick right now, and you're already working with Tiffany Nieves and Kenzie as your women's championship probably match. That's I'm assuming will be at Hard Times. So it was a pretty cool match. But like if I'm Ruthie J or Taylor Rising, I'm not going to allow Natalia Markova to score that pin. I'm going to try to get that pin. And I'm going to do everything I could do to stop my tag team partner from getting the 1, 2, 3 because I want to get the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And okay, I understood Natalia Markova and Taylor Rising being on the same team.
Right.
I honestly haven't paid enough attention to what they're doing with Ruthie J to know if she was on the right team or not.
I mean, she's just a babyface. They haven't really given her much direction.
Okay, well then that works because currently Markova and Rising are baby faces. So
right.
CJ, we don't really know what she is, but at least they're starting to use some of her wrestling talent.
Yes.
And Miss Star is fine.
We do know that she is a heel.
Yes, she's currently in a very heel character. After being a face, she became a heel for no reason. And then adopted a new persona for no reason. I'm having flashbacks from Captain Mike Rotunda, from Mike Rotunda to Captain Mike to Varsity Club Mike, or I don't know when Varsity Club was actually.
Michael Wall Street.
And then Michael Wall Street or whatever. And then the York Foundation, because Rotundo was smart enough to get far away from that as possible as soon as he could. And yes, I mean, I was happy to see Jay wrestle, and not just gimmicky wrestle.
Yeah.
But, and then Misa Kate, who had kind of been a face. And so I don't know. It didn't make sense. There wasn't a reason for them to be in the teams they were in. There wasn't a reason for them to be wrestling for a number one contendership in a 6-man tag team thing. And it was just bizarre. And I don't think it was a bad match. I didn't sit there and go, oh God, this sucks. But I didn't sit there and go, oh, this is, whoa. I mean, I guess I probably would have been more bothered if it had been a fatal 6-way, so to speak.
Yeah, and look, I guess the idea of if you're booking a match that way, like, don't, right? The first and foremost, don't. But if that's what you're gonna do, I guess. But I kind of feel like it's a different skill set. A singles wrestler and a tag wrestler, it's a different skill set. It'd be like, okay, well, if you're the best at speaking Spanish, so we're going to make you the president of the French club. It doesn't make any sense. Oui. And what'd you say?
Oui.
That's right.
Or si.
Si, oui. Si, oui. I just feel like this was
We'll see.
It was a mulligan. Like, if you wanted to make Markova your number one contender, that's cool. Then just give her a match to set her up as number one contender. Put her in a match with Tiffany Nieves. Put her in a match with Misa Kate. And let's just do a one-on-one match. All right. This is the number one contenders match. Instead, and I don't mind showcasing the other women, but then let's just call that a showcase. Or I don't know. Let's have Markova and Taylor run after the tag titles. Let's have Misa run after the TV title, and let's figure out everything else as it comes along.
Well, don't go trying to make sense.
That's too much to ask. Noob says, like I said, Natalia Markova needs a break from chasing the NWA Women's title. Like, have her work on other promotions like OVW or CCW. Yeah, the thing about the territories, and we'll get more into territories in a minute, but now if there are 3 legitimate NWA territories, that means there's other places to get your NWA work in. And at least one of those promotions, Joe Kazana Promotions, has a women's championship. It'd be great to start over, hit the reset button, and put some work in there to get yourself ready for prime time.
How can we miss you if you won't go away? Go away and learn a new hold. I just used 2 cliches. Come back after you learn a new hold, and now you start on a dominant streak where you get a bunch of wins and then get a championship match.
Like, that's what I would have done with Samantha Starr, to be quite honest with you. As much as I like Samantha Starr, I feel like they don't know how to use her. So have her go down on the farm system before she gets that much camera time. She's not a bad talent.
And they flip-flop Star kind of like they did Odison. She kind of came in as a face, and then was a heel, and then Baby Doll came and she was a face, and then Baby Doll and her were a heel, and then Baby Doll went away, and she was a face, and then she became Miss Star, and she's a heel. And so talk about someone who may need to go away and become somebody.
Yeah.
And once we figure out who you are, then you can come in, get on a streak. People laugh at enhancement matches these days, but because they don't do them right these days. But there was a reason for them. There was a reason that the studio matches were all enhancement matches. Because that's where you saw all the people win. And then you would go see who would win when they wrestled each other at the shows. So, and there was low card guys and mid card guys, and which the morons called, jobbers to the stars. And by the way, moron's my term for smart mark. And most people in general. And then you had your upper card stars, and there was a flow between upper and mid card sometimes, because you had to let people came and went, and so we got to miss them because they went away. I mean, really, the Freebirds kept coming back to Texas, but they did leave Texas numerous times. I mean, their storyline started at the very end of 82. And by 85, two of them had lost, loser, leaves Texas, matches. And so only Buddy Roberts was still around.
Hey, real quick, before you finish, Jeremy with the comment of the night so far. Samantha Starr doesn't know how to use Samantha Starr.
And there may be some truth to that. But then if she doesn't know how to use Samantha Starr, she shouldn't be on TV.
Yeah.
And, that's the whole thing. Stop giving me names or associations or whatever just for the sake of them being there. Stop putting things in. We'll talk about it here with the next match. But, give me reasons for stuff, and give me people who they know who they are, and you know who they are, and you can use them as they are.
So the next match was something that I was actually really looking forward to, and I feel like they kind of watered it down by throwing Homicide in as special referee. Number one, Homicide hasn't been on TV for a while. I think the last time we saw him was right after 75. He did one tag team match where he teamed with Joe Alonzo to take on Kaoa Laksamana and Colby Carino. And then he kind of just fell off the map, which is okay. Again, we talk about that all the time. Folks need to go away for us to miss him. But if you're going to bring Homicide back, I don't know that this is the best capacity for him to be in as a special referee. Earlier, our friend Matthew Underwood pointed out that the announcers were kind of like lost why he was in the ring to begin with, but it's like it was an advertise. He was on the show's flyer. He was on the show's match announcement. So, maybe understand why he's there before the match starts, but he was the special referee. And I'll be honest, I didn't get to see much of this match. This is kind of where I walked out. But I felt like Homicide was kind of stealing the spotlight when you had two very good wrestlers in Homicide, wrestlers in Colby and Mecha Wolf. Let them fight. Let's just have a good old fashion ass whipping. Let's see it. DK, what did you think of this match if you saw it more than I did?
Well, this was the disappointing one to me, in the sense that I really wanted to see Carino and Mecha Wolf.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I saw Carino and Mecha Wolf in Homicide without there being a reason for Homicide.
Right.
Absolutely no setup, no reasoning, no real explanation. Like you said, even the announcers are like, which I don't know that that's their fault. I don't know what they knew beforehand or whatever.
Right.
So so something I should have been excited about, because I like both the guys now. Wasn't always the biggest Colby fan, but I've learned to appreciate Colby in this run, and I like Mecha Wolf, especially as a singles wrestler. I didn't have anything against Beastie. If Beastie is still around, I'd probably like him as a singles wrestler. I just thought they got a little bit stale as tag team champions forever. But again, I don't know that was their fault. It was, again, well, actually, I know it wasn't their fault. It was a lot of the booking. And so a match that should have been a really good match, especially because this was a signature live event.
Yes.
This wasn't a studio TV taping.
Poyle Del Mar said, Paul Pratt said that the signature live events were going to be where the NWA starts taking it to the next level. Because now with the elimination of pay-per-views, the signature live events are important, and every match is going to have a pay-per-view feel type match. I did not feel that this was a pay-per-view level match, and I really feel like, again, I'm not even trying to blame Homicide here, but it just took away from the match. It just didn't make it as enjoyable.
Well, I mean, if I can be honest.
No.
Well, that's true. I can be. I try not to be, though. No, seriously. To be honest, nothing here really felt like it was top of the thing, except, and I mean, over the course of all these episodes. And one of the things, since we didn't really talk about the first episode that much, I can't remember what happened that week. That may have been the week of the interview. Somebody in PW Insider had wrote a review and noted that, boy, was the first episode really what you'd want to put forth as your first episode? Tag team champions in a tag team match where, the heel manager has to interfere and against two big guys, and he uses a loaded glove on one and it knocks him out, and he uses a loaded glove on the other one who doesn't even feel it. And then the guy's putting a claw on a hand. I mean, I don't care if you want to use the claw on the thing. Sure, take advantage of the Von Erich movie, but
Sure.
And Tim Storm has used the claw in Texas, particularly when he wrestles as a heel. And so, hey, that's fine, but on hand, a loaded hand, and then so all this going on behind the referee's back. I don't remember if he was knocked out or what, but it's just forever distracted like they do sometimes. And then, so your tag team champions don't look good.
No.
Then you bring your women's champion in. It was a good match, but she also had to cheat to win. So the match was good, and I'm looking at this and this guy was looking at it from the perspective, if you're people who are finding this on CW, and you're kind of trying to be this tradition of NWA and modern version of it, whatever, are you putting your best foot forward here? And then your world championship match is decided in a garbage match where they use light tubes at the end and they used wrestling figures and stuff. And it was like, was this the best way to present yourself? Well, the only match that seemed quote unquote pay-per-view worthy was you had EC3, best known for his time in TNA and kind of his time in WWE.
With NXT.
Yeah, he was good in NXT and never used, I think he wrestled one match on the main roster. Maybe. I'm not even sure. And Zack Ryder, who certainly wasn't doing a whole lot in WWE by the end, had a one-day reign as Intercontinental Champion. Seems like he held the title earlier, and I don't remember what. It wasn't really what I was watching. And so, but, these are at least names that people are going to realize, and you put them in a garbage match. I can go to any indie and watch any two guys that have absolutely no talent do the exact same thing. And this was something I was for. And I don't know that I ever would have done that. I probably would have swapped out the women's match for the ladies tag title match, which I guess has not been aired yet.
No, it airs next week.
It airs next week. And my gosh, they're getting too many weeks out of a signature live.
Well, keep in mind, this is.
I mean, I understand their taping schedule and issues. I'm just saying you're getting, and it's funny, they start off strong and it's almost like they've gone weaker each week. And so just getting to the whole, so getting to the thing, nothing about this felt like a signature live event. Nothing about this. No. If you had told me this was going to be a pay-per-view and this was what happened, because, you know, I generally like their pay-per-views. There are a few I had issues with, but in general, I like their pay-per-views. And it's like, if I'd paid money to see this, I would have said, give me a refund. I'm sorry, that was just bad. And so they haven't done anything, and this match didn't live up to its expectations, because instead of just letting two talented wrestlers wrestle, same as in the world title match, you know, at least most of the women's match was two talented wrestlers wrestling. But in this one, there's this added distraction of somebody who nobody knows why they're in the ring as special referee. There's been no bill, no announcement, no anything. But hey, our next event's going to be a cage match. Let me know. Let me know who you want to be in the cage.
Look, I'm not saying I'm partial to Mecha Wolf or anything, but I would have much rather just seen a straight up match, because Mecha Wolf did put in work. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he wasn't a junior heavyweight when they won the tag titles. And if you looked at him, you could see that he had bulked up a lot, and he has trimmed down a lot. And having seen him recently, he's lost a lot of weight, and he's kind of back to that more of that junior heavyweight stature, you know. So for him to show up and in good shape and be ready to go, and then that's the kind of match that they booked for him, I feel bad for him, you know.
I bet you what they were thinking is Homicide's there because he's an agent, so they were paying him no matter what. So what they were probably thinking is, here's somebody with some name value. Maybe somebody flipping the channel might not know who Colby Carino is, might not know who Mecha Wolf is, but here's somebody that's kind of got some name value, so let's put him out there so people know who he is and they'll see and stop. And I bet you that's the thought process on it. But the problem is, when you add a gimmick to the match, it has to find a way to enhance the match, and it has to be happen for a reason. And so far, none of the gimmicks they've done, all they were doing is just basically garbage, outlaw mud show, to steal a phrase, indie bull crap. That's all it is. It's simple, easy, attention grabbing, like kind of watching a car crash or two dogs having sex. You kind of look at it and you're like, what the heck is that? And you look for a little while and you can't really look away. And then you're like, oh, I can't believe I watched that. And then you walk away.
I agree with, I'm sorry, Gene, go ahead.
That's just what it is. It's just stunt booking, and it's trying to throw something against the wall because you don't know how to build anything up. So you're just trying to throw stunt stuff so it looks impressive. Yeah, it's just like that. It's just like you're just trying to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall to grab attention. It's kind of like a kid in school who's misbehaving just because he needs all that attention.
With that being said, I'm going to go with what Matthew Underwood just said. Thrill and Burchill was pretty good. I agree with that. In fact, we just lost Jaden. Oh, now he's back. I thought Thrillbilly and Paul Burchill was pretty good, and I know they were telling the story that Burchill was getting rid of ring rust. My problem with that is that he shouldn't have been in a title match if he still needs to drop some ring rust. And then the other match that Matthew Underwood really liked was the Immortals versus Slimeballs. And that was because it was basically a squash match. I agree with him on principle that match was pretty good too. I just felt like, again, why is that a title match? Anyways.
Last week we talked about the fact that, when it just came to pure old-fashioned wrestling, that Immortals versus Slime Balls was because the little guy got beat up. And beat up and beat up and beat up. That's its point. You're not just going to randomly tune into the show at that point.
It kind of is destination style of TV viewing. Like you have to go and turn that on.
Kind of, but sometimes with that app, if you leave it on long enough, something else comes on.
That's true.
That is true, because there was some show I almost watched because it was like, what is this all about?
When I used to watch all the superhero stuff, for some reason I'd forget, always near the end, not pay attention and get stuck watching a few minutes of Riverdale or something.
Riverdale, yeah.
I saw something called Beauty and the Beast, I think, or Beast and the Beauty, or
that was an old TV show if they put that on there.
No, there's a new one.
Oh yeah, that's what CW is good. See, the thing with the CW is they were part owned by Paramount, part owned by WB, so they had programming from both. So that's why you saw Dynasty, and that's why you saw Riverdale, and that's why you saw all those other weird stuff, because those are properties of WB and Paramount. And so that's what you kind of have to, why you got those weird shows and the remakes of it. If they're going to do weird remakes, though, why don't they do the weirdest show ever, Dark Shadows? I bet you that would go real over right now. Not more than the NWA.
I've been pitching that they do a live action Mask.
Like the TV show for the cartoon, or
yes,
the
cartoon? No, the cartoon. Sorry. The Masked Assault something or other. I don't know. It was a fun show. Anyways.
Exo Squad. If they're going to do a thing, Exo Squad was the way to go. Anybody remember that one? That was a very niche but amazing cartoon TV show, and I recommend, if you could find it, it's very worth going out of your way to find, because it still kind of holds up for a 90s cartoon.
You know what doesn't hold up is Thundercats. Still love the show, but if you watch it, it's so bad.
Yes, with their 5 colors and 3 voice actors.
Lion-O, what was going on? Anyways, the next match was Daisy Kill and Talos taking on the new Spectaculars. Rush Freeman and Spencer Slade with Rolando Freeman. Now, I didn't see this match at all, so DK.
Spectaculars 2.0.
What's that?
Spectaculars 2.0.
Was it any good?
I didn't pay no would be the correct answer, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention because I neither like Disney Daisy Kill and Talos, nor do I like Spectaculars, so.
Why would you take Spencer Slade, who's a talent and has a look, and put him in such a stupid combination? Honestly,
because he doesn't fit. It's ironic.
Yeah, it's
funny.
It's moronic. More like it.
I would be okay. If they kept Rush Freeman and Spencer Slade, but ditched Rolando Freeman and allowed Rush Freeman to kind of figure things out while easy for me to say, while Spencer Slade kicks his ass into shape. All right, we're going to be a tag team. Get rid of your goofy little brother, and let's just focus on being the best tag team we could be and get some good wins. Under the guidance of Spencer Slade, not Rush Freeman. Definitely not under the guidance of Rolando, who's over there slapping his ass for no goddamn reason. That's the fucking worst. That's the worst thing about the NWA right now is Rolando freaking Freeman. But
I wouldn't go that far. I mean,
no. It's stupid. It's stupid.
But what about the Gimp?
But the Gimp at least can wrestle and be entertaining while he's wrestling. Real quick, I promise when Willie Bowen is in the house, I will always read Willie Bowen's Tyrus jokes. And so here is our moment of Zen with Willie Bowen. Hi, guys. Tyrus will be starring in the reboot of The Blob. His co-stars will be restaurants and grocery stores and buffets in the movie. Woo! Willie, we missed you last week. Glad you're back, brother. So
Is Rolando Rush's brother or half brother?
Well, I mean,
half brother.
Oh shit. That's good.
Big brother, actually.
Big half brother.
I wish he was a step brother and they'd bring Tyrus back just to step on him.
There is a place for Rolando Freeman, but if it's as a
the garbage
serious,
disposal.
if it's just as serious as like a manager trying to guide a tag team to tag titles, please, that is not serious. That is chicanery that I don't really want to watch.
He's no Lord Littlebrook, that's for sure.
No, he's not.
Okay, so what we're saying is you could skip that match. What about the main event, DK? Did you watch the the street fight between Brian Idol, the estranged twin cousin of Mercurio, and Mr. Tom Latimer?
I watched it enough to go, it wasn't bad, but I don't think it was good.
Okay.
I mean, there was no. I probably did more for Latimer's character. Sorry, kid, it texted me. I probably did more for Latimer's character, but I don't know. I was left really disappointed with the junior heavyweight match, and I think it just
put a downer on you.
Yeah. Well, and then again, Falls Count Anywhere match or Street Fight, I don't remember what it was. It was something. And it just didn't make sense as to why.
Keep in mind, too, that this was the same night that they did the Ultimate Match of Death. So you got two basically extreme type matches with almost zero build for either one of them. And this is them putting their best foot forward.
I know wrestling shouldn't have writers, but do you think Billy Corgan should go to a writing class? Do you think it would actually help?
No. I think Billy's the kind of guy that would go to that class and say, they can't teach me anything. I should be teaching the class. I have a Grammy.
Well,
does he have a Slammy?
Again, I think it's one of those. It's one of those things where Billy Corgan doesn't really want the product to be, doesn't really want to do anything to make the product successful. He wants to do the product, and he wants the product to be successful based on what he does.
Right.
He's not out there to create, despite what he says, he's not out there to create the best wrestling organization that will draw the most fans. He just thinks that what he does is good, that the fans should watch it.
Right.
And enjoy it. And I almost, he and Lagana both had that huge chip on their shoulder. And I think Lagana's was a little bit bigger, but
my chip's bigger than yours.
So you claim. We can test that assumption at a time of your choosing. Anyway. Billy likes yes men. He wants to do things his way. He doesn't want to be told that it's not the right way. And he's going to show me and Jay and Jaden and anybody else that's critical that he knows what he's doing. Instead of saying, what can I do to get the most fans? Let me take a step back. Let me give ideas, and then let the professionals get those ideas going. You know, one of the things that made WWE better for a while under Vince McMahon was when there was just WrestleMania, that all plans revolved around WrestleMania. And so you could plan back from there. This is kind of where we want to be next year. Not that it always stayed. Vince was fickle. You know, everybody, I always find it funny. People always talk about, well, Lex Luger was crammed down our throats and, you know, the fans rebelled and stuff like that. That's not what happened. You're all morons. What happened was Vince lost interest in Luger. That simple. And plenty of people who were there at the time have said it.
That's kind of shitty.
But you know, now the morons or smarks or whatever you want to call them, you know, they're the fans just rejected Luger. He was being crammed down our throat. He was on. Fans were. What killed Luger was the balloon celebration when he won by countout. That's what killed Luger with the fans. And then Vince just kind of said, no, I want to go a different direction.
Well, let's bring it back to Billy, because there was a press release that came out earlier this week. We didn't really talk about it on the pre-party, but it's something that I think we should all.
I don't think it was out for the pre-party.
It might not have been. In fact, it did come out yesterday, so it wasn't during the pre-party. But this is a press release that I think might be at least 3 weeks late, as it's acknowledging that the NWA have an exclusive streaming deal with the CW. And under this newly minted, all-encompassing partnership, multiple NWA programs will be streaming and on demand via the CW platform and portal in the United States. Now, democratizing? Say it again.
Is it democratizing?
There you go. Democratizing access to action-packed wrestling from some of the sport's biggest, boldest, and brightest personalities. All programming is notably available free of charge and without a subscription via the CW app. It represents a monumental power move for the NWA. The partnership not only amplifies the brand's presence throughout popular culture and the zeitgeist, but it's also set for precedent for wrestling at large. Did Billy write this himself? Zeitgeist, really?
Based on some other things, I'm going to say yes, because I have something to say about it when you're done reading the actual.
The flagship program, NWA Power, is live on the platform now and features Return to Robarts programming emanating from the historic Robarts Arena in Sarasota, Florida. New episodes air weekly on Tuesdays, with past seasons also available to stream. Additionally, the much-anticipated Paranoia live event on Power is also now available on the CW. Shot on January 13th, 2024 at Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the signature live event, Paranoia, features some of the league's top stars and a myriad of thrilling, high-octane matches. Next up, massive signature live event, Hard Times 2024, will premiere on the platform as part of future episodes of NWA Power, streaming on both the CWTV.com and the CW app.
Question.
Yes.
Would it be more beneficial to run, if again they're willing to do so, both the NWA and CW, to run a television schedule and then do weekly signature live events that go live at a certain time at a certain date and then are able to just be seen on demand from that point forward? Have something built toward to see again the continual progression of said maybe television and see how it's progressing and people are paying attention and how much they're watching those events and see how well their programming is actually building the product?
I mean, yeah, theoretically, yeah, but I think And I wasn't in the boardroom. We talked a little bit about this on Tuesday. I wasn't in the room when the discussion happened, so I don't know financials, but there has got to be some sort of financial incentive where Billy said, okay, guys, fuck it. Sign with CW and let's get some money coming in, because otherwise I don't get it. You alienated a large portion of your audience when you became exclusive to CW. I don't care what the subscription rate is of CW or how many people are watching CW. You had infinitely more eyeballs watching YouTube than you do CW. It's not even close. So unless there's this huge financial incentive, I think they fumbled this one, and I think they fumbled it pretty hard. Now, if there's a huge financial reward for the NWA for this, then okay, it makes perfect sense. But if they're only getting, similar money to what they got on YouTube, wow.
I'm going to argue they're getting more money.
I think so too. I think,
and not only am I going to argue they're getting more money, I'm going to argue they're probably getting significantly more money. And I'm going to argue that because of the Untitled Live reality or whatever show that they're going to do.
well, and that's more what I was going to read about. Can I finish the press?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I lost it. Let me get back to it. Okay. Sorry. Regarding the alliance, Corgan commented the CW made a big commitment to the sports, and they have an incredible top-tier streaming platform. The network's audience represents a very wide swath of American culture. This definitely was written by Billy.
It's swath, but go ahead.
Sure, okay, which wrestling has always been a key part of. This partnership gives the opportunity to reach the audience more readily. We're excited to get a chance to show there are other voices in professional wrestling. With the NWA, there's honesty, integrity, and a different level of swagger because it's coming from the underground. It's similar to rock and roll in this respect. With the CW behind us, we are pulling NWA into the light where fans can appreciate its authenticity. Additionally, a brand new unscripted, untitled series about Corgan's life, family, role as president of the NWA, and his day job will also debut on the CW later this year. Co-produced by Corgan's own production company, Lightning One Inc., and Nacelle Company, it offers an unprecedented vignette into the every dimension of his world with unparalleled candor. Corgan continues to deepen the storied mythos and legacy of the NWA, one of the oldest and most prestigious professional wrestling brands in the world. He has carefully curated matches and sought out exciting new talent, building a haven for future superstars to shine with attitude, integrity, power, and panache. Fuck. As such, NWA currently serves as home to the likes of EC3, Matt Cardona, Thrillbilly, Silas Mason, Trevor Murdoch, Tom Latimer, The Immortals, Odin Sitting Kratos, Blunt Force Trauma, Damage and Carnage, Aaron Stevens, Austin Idol, the Insane Clown Posse's Violent J, the Brothers of Frunstruction, Yabo and Ruffo, Colby Carino, Mims, Max the Impaler, the Sinister Minister, Father James Mitchell, Birchill, Brian Idol, Natalia Markova, Kerry Morton, Alex Taylor, Mae Valentine, among others.
Hey, they forgot to book Manny Moore.
Look, there's a lot of grandiose speaking here, but essentially we know now that the NWA is going to be regularly featured on CW.
Well, read the last paragraph.
All right, I can do that, I think.
Just the
with more heavyweights, more drama, and the most bravado, Billy Corgan, the CW, and NWA will enthrall and thrill inside and outside of the ring throughout 2024 and beyond. Stay tuned.
In psychology, when you use a lot of 50-cent words, it's usually to hide that you have nothing really important to say.
All right. Before we get deep into that, the next section is about the NWA, about a normal paragraph. The next section after that is about Billy Corgan. That's what they're titled. These are very common things at the bottom of any press release. And the about Billy Corgan's about half the length of the actual
article.
All right. So that's the end of that. What's the first thing you notice missing?
A start date for the new show.
Okay, you're overthinking. There's the release talking about the partnership. There's about the NWA, and there's about Billy Corgan. What's missing?
About the wrestlers?
No.
About power.
No.
All right, tell us. We're stupid.
About face?
About CW.
Oh.
When these things are issued, they are issued with, it should have been about the NWA, and then it should have been about CW, and there shouldn't have been anything about Billy Corgan. The other reason there shouldn't have been anything about Billy Corgan is because the entire article release is about Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan.
Billy loves Billy.
Billy Corgan that. Billy Corgan. I mean, if a woman loved me as much as Billy Corgan loved himself, you couldn't ask for anything more in this world. So, first of all, it's poorly written. It's got typos. It's stupid. It's all about him.
Yeah.
Second of all, 3 weeks. This should have been out before the very first old episode of the NWA was loaded to CW. They're talking about his unnamed
reality
show, which we're getting this far, and it's a signed deal, and it's unnamed. And it's also been filmed, supposedly, already.
Oh, yeah. It was filmed during the 75th anniversary show.
Right, and we're assuming that's what they're going to use.
You can't rush genius. He's got to write these flowery, melodramatic art pieces, and you just can't rush that genius. That's all.
James H. Jackson goes, as he told me the other day, DKM, it's become very, what about me? What about Raven? Just substitute Raven for Billy.
What about me? What about Corgan?
Yeah, and so it's just this whole thing, and it's been released 3 weeks after they started. Approximately how many weeks have we been complaining about the international issue?
Probably since somebody figured out it wasn't going to be on international.
Not addressed at all. Not addressed at all.
What? Oh yeah, not addressed. No, not at all. Of course, why address something that's a negative?
Right. No, and the NWA is working hard to, get a release to our international fans, or find something for our international fans, or jack off with our international fans. I don't know. And so this brings, I'm going to let you two talk about it because we all know what time it is. But God, this just drives me absolutely crazy. So one of the wrestlers was going to try and do something for their international fans. And Jay, do you remember what that was? Did you see that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that right now. And it's
so you guys talk about it, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. So, Jade, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the NWA still is not being made available internationally, and it's oddly enough, it's upsetting to a lot of the international audience. A product that they followed for about 4.5 years now is no longer available to them, and they're pissed. Right? They're very pissed
7
off.
of them really angry. Yes.
Yeah.
6 of which are on the it's going to call it the Pandora. No. On the Discord.
Yeah, on the Discord. Yeah. And so it's kind of shitty because this international fan base wants to see it. and they haven't figured out a way to make it available to them. So again, I get why the fans are kind of bummed out about that. I genuinely do. So one of the wrestlers, thinking outside of the box, said, "Hey, street. Oh, I dropped off. Sorry about that. Am I here?
Yes.
Okay. One of the
You're never
wrestlers,
there, but you're here.
one of the wrestlers took it upon himself to say, "Hey, you know what? I have a Twitch account. I have a pretty large audience. We're going to stream the show on my Twitch channel. Come one, come all." And was about to stream until then news out of Camp Carino that maybe he shouldn't do this because potentially he could get in some legal trouble for producing that video on his channel without, express written consent from the CW. So they had to, at the last minute, he did not end up showing it. And it just kind of just shows you, like, even the NWA doesn't know what they can and can't do at this point. Even people in the company are unsure of what they're able to do. And my question to you, Jaden, is number one, does it surprise you? And number two, what can they do?
Well, I don't have access to the contracts, so I can't see what they actually can do to broadcast. I know what they can't do, and you can't broadcast it on Twitch. You can't broadcast it on YouTube. Technically, that's considered, pirating. So that's why you can't do such a thing. For the 7 people that are in the Discord, which is most of the international audience, maybe we could put it in the Discord since it's private, and I doubt I'll ever find it. But
we already do that.
But technically, I said it's considered pirating television, so you can't actually, get away with that.
Yeah,
I do believe I once found a website that was actually showing it, one of those ones that do the illegal movies and pay-per-views and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there were so many pop-ups when I went to go do so, the thing said, "No, you do not want to go to this place."
Yeah.
Because I have the CW app, and I'm going out of my way actively not to watch it on the CW app, just because it doesn't deserve any kind of extra, in my opinion, any extra push on my part for a product being put out that bad. It's kind of like somebody actually put it that Billy Corgan is the Kathleen Kennedy of the NWA.
Ooh.
You take a property that has a feel and a buzz and a known value and a tradition and a history and a fan base, and then you get The Last Jedi, and everybody was so angry and how horrible it was and how it made no sense, and it countered everything wrong that was done beforehand, either through the Disney era or through the George Lucas era. And that's what right now Billy Corgan's doing with the NWA. He has Star Wars, and he's trying to give us Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Wow. That's shit. I hadn't looked at it like that before. But
Which, by the way, I love that movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but it's not Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I like the Attack of Killer Tomatoes. I saw it when I was like 5 years old, and it's ingrained in me. But that doesn't mean that I want to tune in every Tuesday to watch it. So
one day I'll have to catch up with that movie.
And Matthew Underwood says the Killer Clowns from Chicago. Yeah, kind of. Ultimately, though, look, I think it's a great move that someone in the NWA. Jeez. Right now, it's almost more like a porn parody of Spaceballs. Shit.
That right now really does need. It just writes itself. Spaceballs. Come on.
So fireworks are going off behind me, and I hear these explosions. I'm like, oh God, am I being shot at? I guess I'm not in that part of Colorado. Anyway, I think it was a cool idea. I still think it's something that the NWA should continue to pursue. I don't know why they have it. I don't understand why they have chosen to neglect that side of the audience. Do you think that this is just look? My idea, Jaden, is that they just saw a deal where they were going to get compensated for being on CW, that CW would kind of back their play as well. And they just said, forget it, let's go for it. Do you think there was something else in mind, or something else happened, or what?
I don't know, but I always think it's interesting because this was kind of announced before the whole WWE NXT deal with the C-Dub. And it was, wasn't it?
I don't
We
think
were
so.
talking about this before they announced NXT.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Yeah. I mean, so I wonder if this was either because there was rumors that there was many people talking to WB about bringing pro wrestling to the WB. Billy was one of them. I wonder if they had an idea that because they were going to bring some pro wrestling to WB, so they were talking, and they also were interested in doing the Billy Corgan reality show, and said, well, Billy said, well, I'm not giving you the reality show unless you put on my wrestling product too. And they decided maybe, they're going to have pro wrestling soon anyway with the NXT. This will help usher in maybe an audience to this, to get people to know that there's wrestling on this thing, and maybe they'll continue to watch NXT and build up for that. The problem is when you watch NXT to NWA, it's kind of like, watching a big Hollywood production to that one parody of Superman they did in India, where the special effects were beyond high school level. So I think this was what the deal was. I think they wanted Corgan's show and they took the NWA as part of it. And it is a test, kind of like when the Spike Network, Spike TV, was running ECW before it was running the WWE. They're just trying to get into that audience to see if they had something they would like. And then, that's what they got. Now, if they're going to do a reality show, if I want to do a reality show that involves Billy Corgan, I want him involved with Dixie Carter, and I want him involved with Tony Khan, and probably not so much Vince McMahon right now, but how about all those interesting figure promoters, and I'll put them in a TV show of even Vince Russo, even though every time he says bro, I'd want to punch my own throat out.
Right.
But yeah, but just put all those interesting personalities in one and have them talk about their own wrestling, and just so we can make fun of them. I'd watch that, though. I wouldn't watch the wrestling program if they were all in charge of it. Put Bischoff in there. He's probably, at least Bischoff is entertaining,
I think in their own way, they all could be entertaining. And I got to step
entertaining in a wrestling
I have to take a step back. I had to take a step back from wrestling every now and then and say, look, Billy Corgan, he isn't the world's worst person, right? Like, he's not that bad of a guy. We don't like the way he books wrestling shows, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's an awful person,
Only the bass players.
Well, I mean, look, with that being said, I heard that she's been clean and sober since she's left the band, so maybe he saved her life. Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe Billy drove her to drink.
I don't think he had a problem with the drinking. I think he had a problem with the black tar heroin, but I digress. Don't quote me on that. I wasn't in the room. I don't know if that's what it was.
Allegedly.
Supposedly. Did I drop off the screen again?
I think I did this time.
No, it showed, I have two monitors running, and one of them wasn't me. Needless to say, whatever's going on with this reality show, I'm sure there's going to be some interest. There's going to be, look, our friend of the show is Polka Dot Pam, right? Pam is a diehard Smashing Pumpkins fan. She discovered the NWA through Billy Corgan. That's her introduction to the NWA. I guarantee she'll be watching this reality show. Or at least I think she will be. The interesting part, though, is now Pam, because they're not using Chris Adonis anymore, she's kind of pushed back on her NWA fandom, which I think is great, by the way. Because if it doesn't serve you, then it doesn't serve you. But it's just very interesting. How this all is going to come into case, how it's going to all play out. This reality show, I guarantee the reality show is why the NWA won the sweepstakes to be on the CW anyway. Because look, I know for a fact that TNA was talking to CW. I know for a fact that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was talking to CW. We know that the WWE negotiations were going on for quite some time. And we even heard as long ago as 2021 that AEW, Tony Khan, were having these conversations. So it's not like it's not like the NWA had such a big advantage of everyone else, with the exception of bringing more content to the CW. So
Dr. Zirconium would have had the conversations with the CW, except he was trying to find UPN.
Who was that?
Dr. Zirconium.
Yeah.
He was trying to contact UPN and wondering why they weren't returning his calls.
Look, maybe he can call My TV. Are they still a thing?
Oh, yeah. My Network TV is great. They have all the reruns.
Real quick, James H. Jackson said, CW said, wow, this wrestling reality show on Netflix is all the rage. How can we get one on our CW? Cue Billy. Hey, I can give you one of them wrestling reality shows, and I'll throw in my wedding footage. Yeah, that's pretty accurate, James. Then Matthew says maybe this is the case of Lightning One not being able to write off losses this many years in a row, and the CW money for both shows producing live events with territories, partners, balance sheets. That's a great point, Matthew Underwood, because I'm no tax attorney. I'm not an accountant, but I know that you only have so many years where you can write off your losses as a business before you're no longer able to write off your losses. You know what I mean? Like my business, my personal business has now no longer, we are 9 years old now. So I can't write off losses and save on taxes like I could in the first 5 years. Billy Corgan now has been doing this for 5 years, 6 years. He can't write off the losses like he used to. He can still, there's still tax write-offs involved with running a wrestling promotion, but not like they were in year 1 through year 5. So that's a very interesting point, Matthew. That's something I really hadn't thought about that makes a lot of sense. So DK, we talked a little bit about the trials and tribulations of Colby trying to post on his Twitch account. What were your thoughts about that? You're the one that kind of brought up the topic, and I'm dying to hear what you were thinking.
Well, I mean, I guess because I'm just aware of enough stuff, I knew that probably wasn't going to work.
Right.
And just so, it's like, oops, may not be illegal. It's like, yeah, because right now CW kind of owns the right to broadcast things.
Yes.
Colby's new gimmick, the TV pirate.
TV pirate. Yeah. Arr.
Well, they've got Birchill. Why don't they just give it to him?
Arr.
Why don't they team Birch bring in Pierre Carl Ouellette, PCO, and just make him and Birch all tag team?
Well, that would work. Hey, I have a question for the people out there. Do you feel like they did a good job of explaining who Birchill was? Or was it just, hey, this is a guy that hasn't wrestled for 14 years? Which, by the way, didn't they do that with CW? Yeah, I mean, not with CW. Didn't they do that with EC3? Didn't he bring in some guy to wrestle that hadn't wrestled?
Alex Riley.
Yeah.
A-Rod. A-Rye, I mean.
A-Rye.
It was like, why? He had ring rust, and did EC3 really bring him in for the reasons he said, or did he bring him in for an easy victory? Probably for an easy victory. And so it's just like, do you think that people from who watched WCW during that period, did anybody watch WCW during that period? And, are suddenly going to go, who never knew what his name was, by the way, are suddenly going to go, oh, Birchill's coming back after 14 years. I got to get me some of that.
Well, Birchill was in WWE, But yeah, I mean, I think he was touted as
wherever.
He did ECW. He did WWE. He did both. He was Pirates of the Caribbean, part of the WWE, swinging on a rope.
I think he was touted as a very good athlete and then saddled with a pirate gimmick. And I don't think he ever recovered from that. I think at one point they were going to try to do an incest angle with him and his sister, Katie Lee Burchill, that obviously got kiboshed before it got too far into it. But it's just I feel like he was definitely wasted in his time with the WWE. And when he got to the NWA some 14 years later, there's not a whole lot to go on. He's not a former Intercontinental Champion. He doesn't have a repertoire as long as the day is, but he is a good wrestler. And if they treat him as such, I think it'll be fine. But I don't feel the way that they introduced him into the NWA did him any favors. I mean, the first time we saw him, he was auditioning to be one of the spectaculars, you know?
No, was he?
Yeah. He was like, why am I here? And they're like, oh, you're interviewing to be a spectacular. He's like, I just want to wrestle. And they're like, yeah, well, you can wrestle with spectaculars.
See, that's how well we paid attention to that. Because I think that was one of those things that was on, but I was in the kitchen doing something totally different, you know, like looking for food or trying not to hang myself or
fuck. Jesus Christ. What? Why would you say that, dude?
Well, because I was watching spectacular stuff.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if my option was, and I said trying not to.
Right.
So,
The views of DKM are 100% the views of all of us who had to watch that crap.
yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
And so it's just, I guess I don't understand what they think the benefit is. I mean, I can see a benefit in EC3 or Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, or, you know, whatever. You know, when you're bringing in Burchill or that Riley guy or whatever, it's just like, okay, where are you thinking that this is going to be a positive? Where are you thinking this is going to help you? Everything you should do, and I bet Jaden will agree with me on this.
He just left. He got tired of hearing about the product.
No, I don't blame him for that. But if he were here, I bet he would agree with me on this. Everything you should do is for the betterment of the product and to get more eyeballs.
Yes.
That's, you know, even the enhancement matches. Enhancement matches only work if you always have enhancement matches. You can't just throw an enhancement match in there. And because that's what WWE does, and then nobody cares. Oh, so what if the Viking Raiders squash 500 people? You know? And so, Jaden. But, I mean, wouldn't you agree, Jaden, that everything you're doing is to promote your promotion and your wrestlers and whatever. And there's limited benefit to bringing in some guy who was a pirate 14 years ago and nobody really knows or remembers.
If you could rehab them, the benefit is there. The fact that they're relying on a 14-year-old, somebody remembering a 14-year-old guy who hasn't wrestled for 14 years since his last WWE match, no, there's no benefit to that. Unless it's like the Honky Tonk Man, there's no benefit to that.
Well, you know, again, that's a name. I'll be honest. I have no memory of Burchill. None.
And it's a shame. He's very talented. He even can get half as good as he was. He's better than most of the people in the NWA.
So,
well, I heard the Honky Tonk Man, and I started to shake, rattle, and roll all the way over here with my Uncle Greg.
Never say that again. Anyway.
It's a hunger, love. And then the hunger, love. I'm the one you've been dreaming of. You know, you gotta have some hunger love.
Guys, I don't drink.
You know,
That
my
means I have
baby's got me wrapped
that means I'm
around her
stuck.
little finger.
That means
That's
I'm actually
Double J.
suffering through this.
I know. I was trying to be funny.
Well,
See, I won't make that mistake again.
Jay, we
You
all know
promise?
that you're only funny when you're not trying.
Oh.
Or when you're throwing ends in words that don't belong.
Exactly.
That's what my kids are doing right now. They're watching people ski with lights.
So the people who are skiing have lights.
Yeah. I love you guys.
I think there was a dingling participle somewhere in there. Anyway.
And you leave my participle out of it, pal. It's not the Vince McMahon show.
Trust me, I try.
Matthew Underwood says, in regards to the death of pay-per-views for signature live events, the pay-per-views were good and refresh point for fans. If that quality of show isn't being produced anymore, then enthusiasm will suffer. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also part of it too. Like, it always capped off a season of TV with a pay-per-view, 3-hour, 2-hour extravaganza. Now, if you eliminate that, it's gonna not have that breaking up the momentum. It's just gonna be more of the same.
Well,
Be interesting to see.
The problem is it's just part of Power.
Yeah.
So a signature live event and a TV taping all on the same show. I want the best of whatever it is now on there. I'm either not going to like one or I'm not going to like the other.
Right.
And so I realize they probably had limited negotiating power, as in practically none. But yeah, it would make more sense for Power to be a studio tape show or whatever, and for a signature live event than to be a monthly 2.5-hour episode released Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some other day. And then, there's your signature live event. And honestly, it would be smart if not every match on the signature live event was shown. So, if you want to see X, you actually have to be there in person. Now, you probably want your world championship or whatever, but, if you want to, but it might be if you're going to have a, match of doom or death or street fight or whatever, between people you actually care about as opposed to Latimer and Idol. But let's say it was Latimer and
EC3.
Well, I'm trying to think of somebody who doesn't have a title that I would care about.
Trevor Murdoch.
Okay. So if you want to see a title, let's say Murdoch splits and goes to feuding again. Just for a story. So if I want to see
Don't give them ideas, please.
Well, they hate tag teams. How much longer do they have? So if you're going to put a street fight between those two guys, maybe that doesn't make it to the show. One, it keeps the show a little more in line of this is where we see wrestling. And then two, it gives the people who go a bonus of we got to see two top guys, dressed in jeans and flannel shirts and cowboy boots, beat the crap out of each other.
Sounds like my Thursdays.
Sounds like what?
My Thursdays.
It probably is yours. And anyway, again, this is just something I'm literally thinking up as we're talking. But it's
Well, I agree with the sentiment that I feel like the signature live events should have been treated separately from Power. You guys hear that? Fireworks are going off in the back. The signature live events should be treated as a separate entity from the regular Power. And if you had Power on every week the way it is, and then one week there is no Power because it's a signature live event with 2 hours of wrestling, I think that would be a better way to go. Or maybe 3 hours of wrestling. I don't know.
I like 2.5. 3 gets long.
There you go.
All right. Hey, speaking of the NWA, and speaking about territories, and speaking about other stuff, what was this large, impressive, exciting announcement that I never got, that there was an NWA Chicago?
Yeah, so NWA Chicago, relatively under the radar. We didn't really get to hear a whole lot about what was going on or who's involved. We know that the NWA has had ties to Highland Park since the beginning, especially last year. They did a benefit show for the child who was hit by a bullet the year before at the 4th of July parade, which that's tragic. I don't mean to laugh. It's just that's how I cope with these kind of things. But they did a lot of shows in Highland Park, in and around Chicago area. Madame Zuzu's coffee and tea house, and the NWA was a part of all of this. And now, way under the radar, just a post on social media. Hey, there's a new NWA territory called NWA Chicago, and it has some familiar faces on the poster. Obviously, it has the world champion and the women's world champion, but it's missing a lot of the Chicago faces. DKM and the flyer. I'm looking for it right now, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But there's a strong Chicago contingent within the NWA, and not one of them were featured on the poster. Is that it?
Well, I've heard.
There it is.
I've heard a certain NWA talent noted that he was from Chicago, that he wasn't on the poster, or apparently been invited to participate.
A certain individual who I recently posted a video on X about, we're talking about Joe Alonzo, Mr. NWA, who's not featured on this poster. Chicago's very own sweetheart, Missa Kate, not featured on this poster. And a lot of guys I don't even know who the flip they are prominently featured on the poster. So what does that say about this?
It's a local indie. That's all it is. It's the local indie. It's their talent, and they brought in some NWA Indians and became and they decided to make an NWA show. Nothing really big and surprising.
It's not a
Hold that
local
thought.
indie. It's not a local indie. Because if you type in NWA-Chicago.com, where does it take you?
FTWWrestling.com. Ryan Idol's promotion in Florida is and New York is responsible for producing this event in Chicago.
And so apparently from something that the NWA said or released, this is basically a quote unquote, well, actually, I shouldn't say quote unquote, because I'm the one that's using the term. It's basically like a joint venture between Brian Idol and the main NWA office, meaning Billy. So you're not using a local promotion. You're bringing in a guy that primarily promotes in Florida and maybe promotes occasionally in New York. I don't know, because they say they're in New York. And now they're going to be in Chicago. And so they've added a territory that did not exist prior to this conception. And when you type in the name, it takes you to another promotions website. And when you click on the NWA Chicago tab, it gives you a blank about us.
Yep. They were so prepared for this that they didn't even have a website ready to go at launch point.
And so, yeah, and when not only did they not have a website, but they haven't even done a page on the website they're using.
Yep.
But you can start training to become a wrestler today. And it's just...
Can Billy start training to become a booker?
I wish.
From that.
And look, there might be people out there going, well, what's the big deal? So what? And I'm going to take this back to how Billy presents what his plans are, his 20-year plan that we're 6 years into. And what are we doing and where are we going? And what's the old saying? You know, you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. But then work got mad when I showed up in a Batman costume. It's about professionalism. It's what you present out. If Jay has this business, right? And if Jay walked around to other businesses trying to promote, you know, something, and they go, leave me a card. He goes, oh, well, I don't really have a card. And he takes a notepad, not an electric one, just an actual paper notepad out of his pocket, and grabs a pencil or pen from another pocket and writes buckets for rent and a phone number and an address, and tears it off with the little striggly things on top and hands it to a person and go, here, if you need any of my products, let me know.
I think Jay feels attacked.
Well, probably. He didn't know I was going to bring up what he actually does. but no, seriously, Jay, if you did that, what do you think the person's going to do when you walk out the door?
He ran out the door. He ran away.
Well, I thought I had my business card on me, so I was going to show it, but I didn't have it on me. So now I feel dumb.
This is him going out to them, not them even coming to him, because he's trying to get business. He's trying to get known. He's going to construction sites. And
I'll say this.
And so Jay, if a lot of construction sites have trailers, so you know, if you go to the foreman or whatever and manager and you walk up to the trailer and you talk to them and then you do what I just said and hand them that thing, and then you go walking out the door, what do you think's happening to that notepad paper? Probably. And the only reason he would keep it was because it would be what he would show as jokes to everybody else.
James H. Jackson says that we need an Alliance pocket-sized notepad, and I know where to get those. So if you're interested, we could add that to the merch store. Don't worry about that. No, DK, you're right. A business owner, that is me, and I'm not wildly successful. I'm not a multimillionaire, but I pay my bills with this. My day job is a business that I run. Two things that I never do is try to look unprofessional. And if I have a place to send customers, there's content there for them. DK loves my Friday dad jokes that appear on my professional business Instagram account, but I also post photos of my equipment there on my website. It lists some of the equipment that I have for rent. It has address for the location. It has social media contacts, email. I have present to my customers a product and an intangible product as well, that they can find me on social media. They can find me on the website. I've updated my Google listing so that when you type in buckets for rent, it goes right to my business. I am not very tech savvy. I have some business acumen from college, but it's not really rocket science. It's if you're producing a product, you got to have a way for people to see it. They have to be able to digest it. They have to be able to be invested in it. If you have a website that leads to nothing, you're not doing the damn job.
Are you in Colton, California?
Yeah, that'd be me.
Okay, so I use Bing, which I don't normally use, but yeah, into Bing, I type buckets for rent. 4 being the number, and space,
like the horseman, baby,
and right, and space in between buckets, the 4 and rent. So bucket space, the number 4 space rent, and the first thing that pops up is Jay's place on a map. So it tells me where he's located, gives a 800 number to call. It also tells me there's 2 Facebook reviews, so I have to look at that. Shows the websites. I can get directions. So, even me here in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas, where the West begins, can go.
The West begins.
Yeah. That's what Fort Worth is, where the West begins. So,
isn't it, for depending which way you're going, also where the East ends? Or it could be even where the West ends, depending on which way you're going.
It could be where if you're traveling west to east, it would be where the East begins.
Yeah.
So anyway, or the East ends.
No, it's where the East ends. It's where the West ends and the East begins. Real quick, I knew a guy who ran a strip club, and instead of handing out business cards, he'd hand out thongs with his location and the website, little like white thongs, and they'd have the writing on it, and you'd hand them out to the strip club. And he always said that they were used, which apparently bought him a lot of business.
Look, that's brilliant. But
is my first thought, ooh. But my second thought is that's genius.
My
it's a strip club. I don't think Jay should do it.
No. Look, the one time my wife steps into my car and there's a pair of panties sitting on the car seat, like, just expect me to be dead. Like, don't expect any more Alliance.
What if they're Alliance-Wrestling.com and thongs? Or bikini bottoms or something.
I have pictures of her in a... Never mind. Wow.
Okay,
we're on vacation, baby.
Back to NWA Chicago. Our point is... our point is that don't take pictures of your wife in a bikini. And then our next point is, professionalism. If you want to be taken seriously, you got to be professional. And, if you're a millionaire, writing a press release that's all about you and your company and having a partnership with a major network, check your spelling, use words that the average person uses, and, write it in a professional manner. Include your partner in your abouts. If you're doing equipment, running equipment, you have a business card. It either needs to be a slick business card or have a, what do you call it? Backhoe on it. Don't go there, Jaden. And
there were some backhoes with the at the strip club too.
I knew he was going to go there.
Oh my God! There was also a few dozers too, if you know what I'm saying, huh?
You knew he was going there too. But yeah, so if you're going to have a website for NWA Chicago, even if it's only one page. I mean, the first National Wrestling Alliance.com, wasn't much more than one page.
Yep.
And so if you're going to do that, send it to a page that has the poster. and a brief description and more to come. Don't send it to a totally different page that has a tab that says NWA Chicago, that when you click on the tab, there's nothing. That's moronic.
How come nobody's commented on my Billy Corgan picture?
Because I have been laughing at it really hard, and I'm trying not to do that on the thing. But it is an excellent picture of him, I will say.
Best one I've ever seen. Somebody should get like Danny Deals and Joe Galley and stuff as the other minions. Just put their faces over top.
You know, actually, I see Danny Deals would be the type of person who would do this too.
And make it in a t-shirt and sell it and make a bunch of money doing it.
Yes. All right. So what pro wrestling promotion will be the Florida territory in the NWA? Will it be CC? Nobody knows.
And the thing is, it's like there is no official announcement about what's happening in Florida. It's so bizarre to me that essentially Billy said publicly that, oh well, Brian Idol we can't make FTW a territory because Brian Idol can't be the champion and run the territory, which is kind of ironic because EC3 runs Exodus Pro. It's very public that he runs Exodus Pro and he holds the world's heavyweight championship. So I don't understand.
He's not the local champion.
Yeah.
He can't be the NWA Midwest champion until look, we're going to be flat out honest. We know Exodus Pro is a member of the NWA basically as long as EC3
is in the NWA.
And when they part ways and go on with life, Exodus Pro won't be a part of the NWA anymore. And we don't know how long any of these agreements will last. And that's a good one. Can you do Professor next? And
Jesus Christ.
we don't know how long Chicago will last. So it's what's funny is that they really, really criticized the licensees that were there when Tharp. And they were pretty.
Some of them deserved it.
A lot of them deserved it. But, Joe Cassana, okay, that's a promotion that's been around for a while. And, he's doing stuff and whatever. EC3, it's basically just a new attempt at his failed previous
CYN.
And, Chicago, he's using, it's him partnering with another guy with a promotion in another state or two. And someone find out if they run New York.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since they ran New York State.
And
that could be a rock star.
Why would anybody run New York State?
Honestly, it should be running to the ocean.
That would be as bad as running Jersey. Anyway.
North Jersey, maybe.
The north part, yes. I had to ask Jaden where a certain town was because I have a friend that.
Boy, did I give him an explanation that hurt his head.
Oh, I read it. I read the whole thing.
Oh, yes, because boy, did it hurt my head. The south town was actually kind of north of the east.
Because the east town came first. It was all one town at one time.
Right.
But the new town has nothing to do with the original town.
Right. And there's there's something that's called new. And it's like, well, but if you take the south, it is south of the new. It's like, and the north is north of the south, but the east is kind of south of this. It's just like I got really confused.
Matthew Underwood points out that the on the NWA YouTube's channel, the highest viewed video is minute, 15-second clip of the death match at 7,000 views of their 273,000 subscribers. But their thumbnails look better, and you could be the judge. I look, this is going to be going on like this from now on. The NWA, without having real content on YouTube, they don't care about the numbers. This is now just another social media platform for them. And obviously, if it's not paying out big dollars, they don't care. So with that being said, we were supposed to talk about tonight. Yeah, Noob, I did see your comment. I'm sorry. I want to get to that too. Noob said, if Brian Idol is going to run NWA Chicago, how will Natalia Markova play a part of it? Because I haven't seen Markova on the NWA graphic. That's just the first poster. I wouldn't put too much into it. Maybe that event date, Markova has another booking. It's coming up pretty quick. I believe it's March the 8th.
Well, and never let who's on or off a poster interfere with who will actually end up at the show.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would bet you dollars to donuts that Joe Alonzo will be at that event. I don't know it with 100% certainty, but I am assuming yes. And probably Misa Kate as well. I would say a lot of the NWA talent, the brothers of Funstruction, a lot of these guys will probably be on that event. But just even looking at that poster, that isn't like a traditional NWA design. That's somebody else's marketing department. So, but what we were supposed to talk about tonight was we're going to talk about what is going on with TNA. And I know we're an NWA podcast, but we did talk about Scott D'Amore being jettisoned from the brand. We talked about when Impact became TNA Wrestling once again. We also talked briefly about the NWA TNA relationship and what if it had not ceased to exist. So that begs the question, maybe it's time to talk about what's going on with TNA Wrestling. DKM, you pointed out to me that there was a letter that was sent to Anthem on behalf of a large portion of the roster. Did you read the letter, DK?
I did. Of course, I cannot find it at the moment because that would be convenient. But there are plenty of sites on YouTube that you can go look it up, go to Wrestle Talk or whatever, and where they talk about it, and they'll read you parts. But basically, it was like they're hoping a wrestling person will be put in charge, and then they're hoping that wrestling person will be Scott, the guy that was just fired. And it got leaked, and we don't know who leaked it. We're assuming it was probably the wrestlers. I don't know that it was signed specifically by wrestlers or not. There was kind of a, all of us in the room, type signature at the end. And a lot of people have said, oh, if I were them, I'd stop working for TNA and stuff like that. I was like, well, yeah, it's not really that easy if you're under contract. People who aren't under contract, they might be able to go somewhere else, and they might be able to make money somewhere else. But let's be honest. The places that you can make money are not common. And so it's just funny. It's just how do I put this? There's a lot of bad will there, and the talent is upset. And of course, contracted talent can't go anywhere, but you got to do something to reassure them. Because otherwise, you're just going to end up like WWE locker room when they kept releasing people.
Well, Rosville brings up a good point, and I will. I want to highlight it here. Does this smell like a work? Like
in wrestling, everything in wrestling's a work. Everything in wrestling's a shoot. Could they turn it into a work? Yes. Was Scott being fired a work? No. And there's more background that's come out, and there's been some butting of heads going on for months.
There was a report also that Tommy Dreamer was head of creative. That Tommy even himself went out on Busted Open and said, "No, that's not true. That the creativity right now is him, is also Delirious from Ring of Honor, and is also somebody else named RD, who I'm not familiar with."
Yeah, I don't think that's like a former out there wrestler. And then Gail Kim has like 500 jobs, and apparently she has some input.
Lance Storm is still working there as a
Producer.
Yeah, thank you.
Agent.
Yeah, that's it.
So whoever, whatever, whenever. The only person that's changed is Scott. And, the problem is that a non-wrestling person's coming in. And throughout the history of wrestling, non-wrestling people have not been overly successful at putting on a wrestling show.
And what the surprising thing about this is there's been so much overwhelming positivity with TNA, that the whole last few events from 2023 going into 2024, the name change, that felt like there was such enthusiasm and incredible excitement, something that TNA has lacked for many years, and people were talking about it positively again. And then as soon as it felt like the only way they can go is riding that momentum forward, something happened, D'Amore gets fired, and now it's same old TNA. What's new?
This is literally one of those cases where the timing could not have been worse.
No.
And then it didn't happen that they kind of lied to their talent. Because when they were telling the talent about it, they told the talent, well, Scott stepped down. The problem was that they had already put out the press release that Scott had been fired. So
what do you think that means for TNA going forward and the rest of the year? I mean, they've got a lot of events booked in Vegas. I know that they're going in Louisiana, New Orleans, I think next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's soon. What does that mean for them?
It's going to be a struggle. And I'm not saying the talent won't come together. And, everybody wants to put on the best, stuff like that. A lot will depend on how much the executive interferes.
Our buddy wants to put on the best. Billy Corgan doesn't want to put on the best. He wants to put on his product.
Right. And so
the dark side.
But I'm talking about the talent. The wrestlers, will want to, do what's best and put on the best. But, the problem is, I've heard people go, well, the creative team's the same, Scott just won't be there anymore. Well, who leads is important. Because I've, worked in the office world long enough that I've seen the same team of people do good jobs and do horrible jobs based on who the manager was or the director. And so, is whoever coming in, is he willing to basically manage the business side at some point, they'll have to put some wrestling person as a primary. And because the executive's not going to want to deal with everybody. So he'll only want to communicate through one or two people. And so at some point that will likely happen. But, a team that Tommy Dreamer is on won't necessarily put on the same show as a team that Tommy Dreamer leads. And I honestly can't tell you if Tommy Dreamer is that good or not. I mean, I know he booked some of ECW, but you know, by the time that was going on,
you know, and the other thing too that I mean, at least needs to be pointed out is there's a Heebs, our friend Heebs, Kayfabe Soup, put out a pretty interesting meme where it wasn't so much funny but more thought provoking. And part of the reason why the title of this video has hourglasses in it is about half a dozen Impact TNA wrestlers just posted an hourglass with no real like context behind it. You know, what does that mean?
Yeah, but somebody else did too. I mean, it was, and this is where do you smell work? They could be doing something that goes into a work, but the upset is real. The firing is real. What we've been talking about is real. And we all know how many modern day wrestling people love to take the wrong parts of real and try and do try and do something with it. And that's also something that just kind of almost never works. I mean, or, I guess they could do like, Eric Bischoff and when he gave Pillman his release so he could go work at ECW.
Jeez.
Or whoever took over after all those morons failed and, released the Radicals right after Chris Benoit, the night after Chris Benoit won the title. Yeah, it's just, I think TNA has basically killed the momentum they had, and they're going to have to start over. And we'll see if it's a good start over or not. And the thing is, we probably won't, if it's bad effects, we'll probably see it right away. But if it's good stuff, we probably won't see it for a while.
No.
Here's the problem, too. They're trying to get certain talent to start working for them. Well, look at what happened with Hammerstone. He just left the MLW and they wouldn't let him out of his contract. And, same thing with Jacob Fatu for a while. And, they had to get stuck there. And there's these guys ready to negotiate. And all of a sudden, all these people are unhappy. And allegedly, Josh Alexander's one of them. And then they decided to renew his thing over. So, just put him back in the contract, renew his contract over the option. People see things like that and wonder, do I need to be in a company that's going to do stuff like this? It hurts them potentially also getting future talent to say, hey, I don't think my career is great for AEW right now. Yeah, the money is there, but I want to invest in myself and I'll go to TNA and get over and get a gimmick and get maybe, work my way up. But now they go to this and they're like, maybe I shouldn't go to TNA. Maybe I should just take the money from the money mark and the con man.
Right. It's just, I'm sorry, it's damaging, and there's not much else you can say about it.
It was also brought a couple of things too. Scott D'Amore is the same guy that put the Impact title on Tessa Blanchard. He's the same guy that booked murder scenes and resurrections, didn't he? And it was also brought, and I don't have facts to see if this is true. I never looked it up to see if it's accurate. But somebody said that Impact started getting better in /TNA when Delirious was added to the booking committee.
That's probably true. Scott's been involved in TNA for like 20 years.
And he did run TNA at his absolute best before it got part of Hogan, before Hogan and Bischoff and Dixie ruined it.
Right. And so there are certainly periods under him that it was good, and there are periods that he's been there that's been good, and periods that it wasn't. He did quit one time and then got brought back as a producer and everything. So yeah, I mean, you can look at Scott. Let's not overstate Scott's
brilliance.
Yeah, greatness or brilliance or whatever you want to call it. But it's almost that it doesn't matter that he was released. It was how everything was done.
Yeah.
And again, this almost goes back to what I was talking about with professionalism. There seemed to be some professionalism missing here on the side of a large company.
Multi-million-dollar conglomerate.
So, hey, I don't know.
Well, that's going to do it for us on this week's episode of the Alliance Guys podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation about all things NWA and our wrestle talk about TNA. Now, there is going to be a big championship match in New Jersey.
Somerdale, New Jersey.
For MAWA, right?
Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance.
And
yes.
What actually in the Mid-Atlantic?
Yes, it is actually in the Mid-Atlantic.
Tell us about it.
Well, MAWA has another card coming up called Somerdale Slam. I didn't name it. Dr. Zirconium didn't name it. I don't know who did. Same people probably named WrestleMania. But it is a dog championship match as new champion Breaker Morant. His first two-time champion. His first publicly known championship defense, even though he will be defending before that 2 times in April. If he is still champion, he will be taking on Kurt Robinson in a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship match on Saturday night, May 25th in Somerdale, New Jersey. That's why it's Somerdale Slam. So it's going to be an interesting event. I mean, that's a really good match. I actually didn't know much about Kurt Robinson until Tony taught me. He's actually partially trained by Drew Gulak. And he works out of the Drew Gulak school right now. He also spent some time with the CZW Wrestling Academy and wrestles down south a little bit in the Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina type area. And has been in the ring, has wrestled against Colby Carino, I think, even for the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Okay.
So he has a little bit of pedigree as a name. Everybody knows I don't like Drew Gulak, and if he fell into the ocean, I'd feel bad for the ocean. But, it's interesting to see this. Somebody else is involved with it too. Another big name, maybe for somebody from AEW. I can't think. But there are a couple people involved in this wrestling promotion. And most recently, the good friend of the show, David Marquez, just did a seminar on television wrestling there at their school. So it's nice to see this is going. Like I said, the kid is very talented. He's a former amateur wrestler. So DK automatically will probably like him a little bit better. And he's really starting to fill out. He started off kind of skinny, but he's starting to fill out now. Like he's putting on muscle weight. And he was young, and now he's starting to get into his adult weight. As because when you're young, it's easy to not have muscle. Or if you're strong as hell, but you're skinny, because that's just the way it is. But when you start getting your baby fat going and your adult muscle on, that's what he's in now. And he seems to be like a really, really talented kid. Working his name out there, getting his name out there. So I think that's going to be a really good match. He may be a wrestler you're going to hear about in the future. It's one of those promotions that like to use the flavors of the month. He might start off as a flavor of the month and become something you might see in another big time promotion soon. So I think that's going to be a good match.
we'll be keeping tabs here at the Alliance guys and on alliance-wrestling.com. Also, make sure to check out the Dog Pro YouTube channel, Dog Pro Wrestling YouTube, youtube.com/Dog Pro Wrestling, I think is the address. If you can't find it, just go to the Alliance blog YouTube page. There's a link there for it, for sure.
Can you post the short in the chat of Dave Dog getting squished?
Let me see if I can pull that up.
By the way, Jay, you were correct. That is now the highest ranking short we've ever had. So I'm going to do what you told me to do from this point forward.
Yeah, and I'll tell anyone that.
I'm not. Go ahead. I was not going to tell anybody. I don't want nobody else to know your secret. But I'm going to do that. I've been working with the videographer and Dr. Zirconium. He doesn't even know what YouTube is yet. He thinks it's the stuff that they put in the old-fashioned televisions that go bad after a while. There's an X tube and a Y tube, and he thinks there's now a YouTube.
All right. You'll have to forgive me. My internet is not great in the hotel, so I'm having trouble even getting onto YouTube right now. Which is funny because I'm broadcasting to YouTube, so who knows?
Maybe you could also, it's also on the Discord page, so if you guys want to watch that in the free matches section. Just watching Dave Dog get squished is well worth it. Have you guys seen it?
Yes. I think I've got the link here, so I will put it in the I'll put it in our chat here. You guys can take a look after this is over. Just follow that link right there. And for those of you who are watching later, it's right there. Copy and paste, if you will. DK, I know that you don't like to be bothered online, but if someone wants to follow you on social media for whatever reason, how could they do that?
At DKMFWTX on whatever social medias I'm on.
I keep dropping off. This is so weird. You can follow me at what's that?
I blame you.
Yeah, well, the computer's starting to fall to pieces over here. I guess I've overstayed my welcome here, but
the computer's partaking in some of that product you can get from Denver, Colorado.
You know that's legal in California too, right? Like if I wanted it, I could have it.
Sure. Yeah, but your computer can.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, hey, guys, again, thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday for another rousing episode of the pre-party with J. Cal. Of course, Wednesday, the other Alliance guys are checking in, and we'll be back next Thursday doing pretty much the same thing, talking about different stuff. Until then, we'll see you at the matches. Click, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.
And buy the shirt.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.